Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the United Campus Workers of South Carolina today at our Statehouse as we take our message of a living wage to our elected officials. My name is Ome. I'm a USC adjunct professor and a staff member in the School of Medicine. Shortly, you will hear from the University of South Carolina student workers, faculty, administrative staff, facility staff, the AFL-CIO, and state representatives who will share their experiences at the university with you, and they have a clear message that workers at the University of South Carolina need and deserve a living wage. Currently, the university pays a minimum of only $12, and this was just only recently instituted and only for full-time workers. So that minimum wage does not include part-time workers or contract staff. This is not a living wage. Currently, 500 full-time USC employees make less than $15 an hour. And we are here today to say that this is not acceptable. Black workers at the university make up 40% of that full-time staff that makes less than $15 an hour, even though they only represent 18% of the overall workforce. The fight for economic justice is a fight for racial justice. We are here today to call on the state legislature to raise the minimum wage at state agencies to at least $15 an hour. That's equivalent to $31,200 a year. We also urge the legislature to ensure that the budget provides an annual cost of living adjustment each year for all employees. Last year saw the inflation hit a 40-year record high of 7 to 8%, which means that we as workers have seen the cost of housing, food, transportation, childcare increase significantly, while our wages have remained the same. This is unsustainable. The state legislature can address this issue by increasing state appropriations to higher education back to 2001 levels, which was $8,123 per full-time student. At this time, when we have a significant budget surplus of $3 billion and an American Rescue Plan funds of $2.4 billion, now is the time to make an investment in economic and racial justice for university workers and build a future for South Carolina that values higher education labor. Thanks for joining us today. We'll start our remarks off with Bobbie Keitt from Parking Services at the University of South Carolina. Then we'll be followed by our other speakers who will all introduce themselves before they start their remarks, so you know who's speaking. Everyone also has a brochure with the order of speakers, so you can follow along there. Again, thanks for joining us, and power to the people.
Well, I'd like to start off this morning by saying good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bobbie Keitt. I'd like to thank you all for coming today, taking the time out of your busy schedule to hear our concerns on this morning. I have worked at the University of South Carolina for 30 years in Parking Services Department as administrative assistant. As I may add, it is a good place to work. Upon me accepting the position, it was explained that my starting salary would be how my pay would progress over the years. There is a midpoint and a maximum salary scale. However, after 30 years of service, I fell far short of the pay scale maximum. During my yearly evaluation, I have always exceeded excellent ratings. As you are aware of evaluation classifications, based on that alone and my exceptional performance, I deserve an increase. It was never explained to me why I can't get an increase equivalent to my job or position. In closing, I searched my heart on this morning. I asked myself this question: What is my motive and agenda for being here on this morning? Is it for self-gain? I have a clear conscience on this morning. It's not about me. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what's right and what's wrong. My motto is, hold that which is good from no man when it's in the power of your hand to do them good or right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am State Representative Annie E. McDaniel. I serve House District 41, which encompasses all of Fairfield County, a portion of Chester County, and a portion of Richland County. First, I want to say thank you to the conveners of this press conference, and thank you to the media for answering the call and coming out and covering this great concern. And then an extra special thank you to all of the attendees and those who will be watching and will join in this cause for campus workers. As I have shared on numerous occasions, when God blessed me to be a member of this great General Assembly, He blessed me so that I could be a voice for the voiceless. And this morning, I stand to be that voice for many whose voices are often not heard or whose voices are often not taken seriously. It's an honor for me to stand here and advocate on behalf of many who cannot be here. Why can they not be here? I'm glad you asked. They are working. They are doing those essential jobs that we seem to maybe think are not essential. So to my great alma mater, a fine institution who received millions of dollars from the great state of South Carolina annually, you have received enough money to pay the workers $15 an hour at a minimum. I know the call is for the state to give you additional money, but I truly believe in looking at your budget and the amounts that you have received, if you spend the money wisely, you will find that you will have the money to give $15 an hour to those individuals who have not yet reached that level. The U of SC, the University of South Carolina, an institution which gave me an opportunity to start my journey as an advocate for injustices. An institution which gave me an opportunity to experience systematic injustice, sometimes known as racism. An institution which gave me an opportunity to experience that the actions of a few is not necessarily that of the majority. An institution named, again, the University of South Carolina, and now famously known as the U of SC. I am calling on you, my alma mater. I am calling on you on behalf of approximately 500 workers who makes less than $15 an hour. Please be a trailblazer when it comes to taking care of your own, those who hold jobs that most others will not do. You may ask the question, are they essential? Again, I'm glad you asked. Essential, according to the dictionary, is necessary, extremely important. Well, wouldn't we say what they do is necessary? Wouldn't we say that it is extremely important? If not, let the bathrooms go unclean for a day or two. Let the trash on the grounds go unpicked up for several days. Let some of the other services they provide go undone for a couple of days. I think you agree with me. They are essential. And I do understand that most of those workers, or your clerical workers, your custodial workers, your janitorial, housekeeping, food service, and maybe some others that I did not mention. But what do? They provide those services that causes us not to be inconvenienced. They ensure that our messes are cleaned up, trash is picked up, floors are clean, food is ready. Yummy, yummy, we want food, right? Dishes are washed, grounds are kept, security is in place, and the list goes on. They put the P in pride because they take pride in what they do. When I visit the University of South Carolina, I am proud because the facility is immaculate. I am comfortable walking on the grounds and seeing hardly any paper, unless someone just threw it there just before I walked there. Using the facilities, I am darn proud of the work that they do. Now we need to be darn proud and pay them the wages that they deserve. They complain the least, they ask the least questions, they ask for the least. So why don't we pay them more? But instead, what do? We pay them the least. Gas, housing, rent, healthcare, food, you name it, inflation. But we expect them to survive making less than $15 an hour. While we may not be able to keep up with the 8% inflation rate, we can at least bring them to what some may think is a livable wage. And to them, $15 an hour would mean a lot. Some may ask, what is their educational level? So you can bring that into the game, right? Well, again, I'm glad you asked. With your educational, or my educational attainment, it basically says that I'm qualified to receive a wage that is greater than what their wage is. But will I do the work that they do? Pick up the trash, clean the bathrooms, all these other essential things that have to be done that my degree says I don't have to do? No, I will not. So why would I not pay them $15 an hour if I'm making $50, $60, $70, up to $500 an hour? Just 15. That's what they're asking for right now, just 15. I understand that a study is being done to look at the wages. Well, I am an accountant, and I've worked in administration, and I know what happens when studies are done. Those people who are at the top continue to get more. Those people who are at the bottom continue to get less, if they get anything at all. So the Economic Policy Institute shared that the average monthly cost of goods and services in Columbia, South Carolina metro area is $3,236, which equates to $38,834 annually. $15 an hour equates to about $31,200 per year. You still $6,634 less than what they actually need. But they're only asking for $15 an hour. So I say to the great U of SC, please do not be tarnished by ignoring this cry to help the individuals and those workers that you are only paying less than $15 an hour. Let's start today. Let's be wise. Let's spend the money wisely and give it to those people who are essential, those workers who are making less than $15 an hour. Let this be the day that you do not wait on a study, but you do what is right, because the time to do what is right is always now. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Will Pittman. I'm a graduate student at the University of South Carolina, and I would just like to biographize shortly, but first I'll start out with a quote by Marcus Aurelius. He said that everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. I think the question is, can minimum wage sustain a life? My story started, my working life started after I finished a degree at the College of Charleston in sociology and philosophy. Afterwards, I was in an internship with the National Park Service. I became a carpenter's apprentice, and after that, I became a commercial painter. I was hopping jobs to find a sustainable wage. Just across the street there, when I was 25 years old, I'm now 33, I helped restore the Human Affairs Commission. I was the only English speaker on an all undocumented workers crew. I think it's ironic that these folks were being paid less than $10 an hour, and now the institution supposedly is on our side. I also painted and restored the bottom floor of the state senate with this crew. Later, I started my Master's of Social Work program. I worked as a prep cook. I donated blood at the CSL down the road there to make an extra $50, $100 bi-monthly. And in the social work program, I learned that poverty is termed the tyranny of the moment. Currently, I'm remodeling houses on the side. I'm a student grader. I evaluate undergraduate students. I've made just above poverty for my entire 20s, now well into my 30s. And another thing to consider, according to the PewResearch.org, half of all young people aged 18 to 34 moved back home with their parents due to COVID-19. And I think that consequences of the Great Recession are still reverberating. What does this mean for my generation? I fear that the middle class is disappearing. Is this an expensive, costly battle? Can we win this battle? I think that domestic economics, where most folks are on the brink, does not fit the story of the world's greatest country. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, it's me again. My name is Omme-Salma Rahemtullah, and I am an adjunct professor in the Film and Media Studies program here at the University of South Carolina, where I've been teaching a course on film programming for the past 2 years. I'm here today to stand in solidarity with workers that are not making a living wage. Prior to the University of South Carolina, I worked as an adjunct and a teaching assistant at 2 other universities in Canada. Additionally, I have also been a student worker, a grad student worker, and administrative staff person in higher education. So I know what non-faculty labor looks like, and it's not good. I'm here today to talk about my experiences at USC as an adjunct, which is similar to the adjunct system at other universities in North America. And it is stressful, insecure, low paid, and precarious. An adjunct lecturer or an adjunct professor teaches classes on a course-to-course basis, which means that your course assignments vary each semester, depending on what the needs are of that faculty or the department in that semester. Doesn't sound too bad, right? But that also means that you need to apply for your job every semester. That means I reapply for the same course every 3.5 months. That's right. Just because you taught a course in the fall doesn't mean you'll teach it again in the spring. You have to go online every 3.5 months and reapply for your job. Imagine you had to do that for your job. Even our esteemed state representatives get to keep their job and only have to reapply every 2 years. So this, of course, leaves adjuncts in a very precarious position, not knowing sometimes only weeks before a class starts if they will have their job and they'll be able to teach that course. So along with a living wage, we as workers need dignity, we need security, we need respect, and we need timely compensation for our contributions to the university. So I thank you again for coming here today to listen to our stories and to help us fight for 15 and for livable wages for everyone. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Brawley. I represent House District 70, which includes portions of Lower Richland, a rural community, and portions of western Sumter County, also very rural. I'm a proud graduate of the University of South Carolina. And I chose the University of South Carolina because it was a flagship institution. It was the biggest at that time, still is, and it was considered the best. I considered USC a leader. I still do. So I'm extremely troubled as I look behind me and I see folks who work at USC, the flagship institution in this state, who don't make $15 an hour. As a leading institution, it needs to set the pace as well as the example. USC should be paying every employee, not just $15 an hour, but what is considered a livable wage. Now, why is that important? For so many reasons. Work is a point of pride. It's a point of dignity. A job is transformative. But a decent paying job, that changes families, that changes communities, and yes, it changes states. And if South Carolina is serious about being a great state, and I believe we have every potential to do that, it starts right here, right now, by making certain that the people who work for us at the University of South Carolina receive a livable wage. You cannot live for $10 an hour. You just cannot do it. By the time you pay your rent or mortgage, if you have a mortgage, buy food, buy gas to get back and forth to your $10 an hour job, and also pay the insurance and everything else that it takes to live in today's society, there's absolutely nothing left. In fact, you don't even make it till the end of the month. That is unacceptable. And my colleague mentioned, and she was so right, Representative McDaniel, that, you know, the university gets millions and millions of dollars from this state. There is no acceptable reason why every employee there should not earn at least a minimum of $15 an hour. Every job is essential. Every person is valuable. And how do we show that value? We reward it by working and getting paid a livable wage. Pride is important. As I mentioned, that's what a job provides. But transformation happens when we value people, the work they do, and we pay them a significant enough salary that they can support their families in decency and dignity. I just believe deeply in my heart that the university is capable of doing this, because I have seen the University of South Carolina do some incredible things. So I know that this is not out of our reach. And to be honest with you, it should not take a state law to change that. It should not take more millions of dollars into the coffers of the University of South Carolina to make this happen. All it takes is the will of the board and the administration at the University of South Carolina. These are people who are important to their mission. Without them, chaos happens. We know that. As you said so ably, not pick up the trash one day, just one day, and see what happens on a college campus. It is not just important that we do this for the economic value that it brings to these individuals who work at the university, but it's important that the university does this to set the leadership standard that only they can do as the leading institution in this state. I expect them to do it because they are leaders. These people behind me expect them to do it because the university is a leading institution. And we should not expect nor accept anything less. Thank you.
That's hard to follow. Thank you, Representative Brawley. My name's Timothy Simmons. I've worked at the library here for 16 years. I'm a faculty member there. And I'm here to ask university leaders, state leaders, to increase wages for campus workers. Beyond the simple fact that workers deserve a living wage, I wanted to focus on just one particular reason, which many of the speakers have already touched on. The federal minimum wage hasn't increased since 2009, and so workers can't count on federal increase to account for the shortfall that all low-wage workers are experiencing right now. How do I know that they all are experiencing budget shortfalls? Because the cost of everything has gone up. In particular, fuel costs have increased by more than 25% in the last year. Oil companies could cut, the price of a barrel of oil, but, greed. So some workers here on campus are forced to choose between getting back and forth to work or, are they going to be able to eat that week? In my work at the library, I supervise students, and so I see students who have to work 2 jobs to pay their rent. I've seen how dire the need for the increase is. So university and state leaders, I ask you to increase wages for campus workers now to $15 an hour. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jermaine Johnson. I represent District 80, which is part of Lower Richland up into Kershaw counties. Now, I appreciate you all for coming out here today because it shows that this is a really important topic that we need to be speaking about here in the state. Not only about our flagship institution, but about what we value here across the state. 725. I'm not talking about what time it is right now. 725 is our minimum wage. 3.93. No, I'm not talking about a GPA. That is the average price of gas in South Carolina right now. So an individual must work an entire hour and still can't afford 2 gallons of gas. I need y'all to understand exactly what I'm talking about here. Somebody will have to work almost an entire day just to get a full tank of gas. That is an absolute shame. Understand what just happened recently in our flagship institution. We paid a football coach $10 million not to come to South Carolina, but to leave. Just recently, we paid a basketball coach $3 million not to come, but to leave. This amount of money could have easily been distributed to our workers here at the University of South Carolina. We could easily end this situation going on right here in the University of South Carolina. Today, I'm not just calling on the board and the university to fix the payments at the University of South Carolina, but I'm calling on us at the state because let's be frank here, it's not their fault. And it's also not the University of South Carolina's fault. It's our fault. It's leadership's fault. We haven't established a minimum wage here in South Carolina. We follow what the federals do. We must take action now. We must do what needs to be done. Because we can be honest that we have the power. During this session, you all have seen that we have pushed through some controversial bills, just like that. This is something that can change overnight if we truly wanted to. If we truly value the people in this state, if we truly love our constituents like we claim and say that we do, if we truly want to end poverty, if we truly want to do this, we can change this with the stroke of a pen. We can change this now, we can change it overnight. So I'm calling on my colleagues in the General Assembly to make this a priority, and let's do this, not just for University of South Carolina, but for all institutions, for all constituents across the state. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Tague. I am the field director for the South Carolina AFL-CIO. For those of you who don't know what that stands for, it's the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations. The labor movement has helped to secure a 40-hour work week, health care, Social Security, Medicare, fair wages, and retirement plans. We cannot stand by and do nothing while people work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And we're not talking about teenagers who are just trying to earn some extra money for their allowance. But we're talking about families who are trying to survive on minimum wage, raise a family, pay bills. The South Carolina AFL-CIO will stand with and fight with the campus workers to get a fair wage, a living wage. We're calling on the university to raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour for all campus workers. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Jerry Govan, and I represent House District in 95. I'm here to tell you I'm not an alum of the University of South Carolina. But I'm here to tell you that I do stand in solidarity with these individuals who are here today, because the living wage in South Carolina is transformational. And I'm going to emphasize that by telling you just a very brief and quick story about a young man whose mother was a single head of household for a great portion of his life. And this woman, this strong black woman, worked 2 jobs to support the family. Why? Because it took 2 jobs to provide enough income to provide. She was trying to not only raise her own children, but also the children of her children, her grandchildren. And so one of her sons, she sent 12 miles down the road to a little small area called Roseville so that his father's people would help with the child care. And I share that story with you because many times I can remember that this young man, along with his siblings and his nephew, sat on the stoop of their home in a place in Orangeburg called The Hill, and would wait for their mother, who worked as a cafeteria worker in the local school district, to come home, because she would bring the leftovers there. Leftovers because there were times that we were short on food in that house, so that we would have a little extra something. That was how poor we are. And to say that it's transformational, that young man, that mother, that working parent, let me emphasize this again, because let's put a face on this. You're talking about individuals at the University of South Carolina, at Clemson, at South Carolina State, all across this great state of ours. You have parents who are working multiple jobs just to provide the basic necessities for their children. And it's transformational because in this particular case, their child, that same young man who sat on that stoop, is now the 2nd ranking member of the South Carolina House of Representatives. Why? Because of the tenacity of that parent and the fact that they had to do whatever it took to provide them with a high quality education. And so I stand here today to give testimony to the fact that we need to make a livable wage a priority, not only in South Carolina, but across these United States of America, so that every child, every parent can provide the resources to help their child to achieve their dreams. Thank you very much.
All right, I want to say thank you first and foremost to our legislators who've come out. I want to recognize they're taking a stand with us today. I want to say thank you for having the courage and the conscience to do so. And just to announce what we've announced here today is that there is a new day for the working class of South Carolina. And for any of the legislators who've not yet taken action to support and ensure that all workers get paid a living wage in this state, we invite you, we ask you to have the foresight to work with us, the workers at the University of South Carolina, and with your colleagues to help us see this new day that's coming up over the horizon, to work with us to usher it in. My name is Anson Foster. I'm a student and a worker at the University of South Carolina, and I'm a proud member of the United Campus Workers Union, UCW, CWA Local 3765. And as a student and a worker, I occupy a unique position at the university. And so first I want to speak to my peers, my fellow students at the University of South Carolina. Now is the time to stand with and support the workers that get up every day and make this university run, who are asking for a living wage to support themselves and their families. Now is the time we must build student-worker solidarity. And I'd also like to speak directly to my fellow workers, to all employees at the University of South Carolina. We have rights, namely the right to association and the right to free speech. That is, we have the right to organize ourselves and to have a say in how we want to improve our university. We're all passionate about the work that we do, and we love our university. That's why we're organizing ourselves into a union. And that's why we're speaking out here today, and will continue to, because our goal is to make our university a better place to work for everyone. So, to the groundskeeper who keeps our campus clean and beautiful, who's been working at this university for over a decade, who comes to work at 7 a.m., gets off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, goes to his second job until 12 midnight, 5 days a week. To the custodial worker who keeps our building safe and clean, who told me through tears in her eyes how she is here in the evening at her second job today, how she's working 2 jobs to put her daughter through college. To the professors who care deeply about the staff and the students in your department, who you see being paid less than a living wage and who are suffering because of it. To the struggling full-time staff and part-time student workers, many of whom are considering leaving their jobs at this university, who are relying on gig work and odd jobs just to get by, who are finding it harder and harder to pay rent and put food on the table. To all of you, look around. You're not alone. Join your fellow workers. Join your union. Because this is not just a fight for bread and butter. This is a fight for dignity, and all labor has dignity. And because when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you very much. For the press, if you would like to speak with any of the workers one-on-one or any other representatives, please feel free to come up afterwards and do so. And thank you very much again. Thank you.